Whoo-wee, what's going on YouTube? Is Donnie B all day. Where's my hat, man? Where's my hat? Man, I almost forgot to look dapper. Woo, that's better. So anyway, let's get back to what's getting back to. All right, so I have a couple things. A couple things. Today is a versus. It's not really a versus as in which one is better, but how do they stack up comparatively type thing. And this was a requested video. Somebody wanted to see how a Bowie machete would stack up to a Bowie knife. So we are going to do that today. A couple other things on the home front. Talking about our knife community here and just the love and passion that, you know, so many of us have. Scab and Carl Ruger and the Shredder and Seabop and Captain Electro and Donovan 2 and just all these guys. Thanks, Arizona Bladesman and Becky Styles, who I'm not forgetting, and everybody else who I'm not forgetting, which I'm forgetting. This community has come together, and there was a video I did a long time ago, back before anybody even knew my name, and it was called Knife People of Planet Earth, and it was where I really started this whole knife community thing. It's like where I began it, and it was a message of just what knife people mean to each other and how we all have this one common bond, and it's steel. That's our thing. And ever since I did that video, like, a lot of people really connected with it. And I'll try and remember to add it into the link. When I say try to, it's because, like, I get a little floaty and then I'll be like, all right, I'm doing this and this and this and this, and I forget. So one thing I don't want to forget, however, is a book by Raymond Chelensky, who is one of the biggest brothers of the blade out here. This guy watches all of our videos, comments on stuff. I mean, he's just all about the knife community and being part of our community, which is huge. He supports us, right? And I think it's time we pay it back. And one of the really cool things is this dude's an author, and he's a book-selling author, and he's freaking awesome. And if you went to Amazon and typed in The Fate of Nations, and then in parentheses, it's Fire Team Alpha. That's his book. And it's really cool because it's like a authoritarian world power all trying to enslave the human race, but a team of elite, like U.S. super soldiers, basically, have to fight for the freedom of the world. And if you like really exciting stuff and you don't want to read Mary Had a Little Lamb to your 6-year-old for the 188th time, this might be a really cool thing to read. And here's the good thing about it. It's easy to do. He has it on Kindle, and this is a pre-order right now, I believe, on Kindle for only $3.99. $3.99, and the paperback version is only $14.99. And I'm going to give you guys a little. This is what it is, The Fate of Nations, right? This is a brother of the blade, guys. If we can't support $3.99 a spit to help somebody who helps us out, I mean, come on. But really cool. It's something worth getting into. It's worth reading. I already began a PDF copy that he sent me, and I have to say, I'm not a reader, but I'm reading it, and it's keeping me in the Word. So, you know, supporting Brothers of the Blade is very, very important. The Fate of Nations, Fire Team Alpha by Raymond Chelensky. Something definitely worth ordering, and I'm pretty sure if you really wanted an autographed copy, you get a paperback and you send it to him, he'll probably just sign it, no problem. But I know he's also doing a giveaway at some point, so we'll figure all that out and see how it works. He's on Facebook with the name Raymond Chelensky, so if you're on Facebook, look him up. Look him up. So my Knife People of Planet Earth. You can look that up too. You can look that up too in case I forget to put it in there. We are going to do the battle between Bowie machete style and Bowie steel. Now what I did is I used a high quality Bowie machete, so we are rolling with the cold steel Black Bear Bowie, right? Awesome freaking Bowie. But instead of using a really high quality Bowie, I went with something. Sorry, I've been using it, guys. I forgot to clean it. But I went with the most uncomfortable handle I have. It's a chip away cutlery. It's one of those Frost cutlery brands. I'm going to use one of their Bowies. This isn't some super steel. This is just 440, I believe. Either that or it's one of the 7 CRs, or 3 CRs or 9, whatever it is. It may be 440 though. We're going to use this. Now, the reason I hate this is because look at how fat that grip is. None of my fingers touch. We know other people do that, and we've gotten into that. So what my plan was to take it down, and I just haven't got to it yet. I've used it a few times, just didn't care. I just went through it, but I really need to. I hate this handle. This handle, however, I do not hate. And you can see the difference, all right? This one fits the hand. It's nice. I chose a budget Bowie because it's pretty close to the length of this one, which helps. But this is not some super steel. It is high carbon. It is high carbon, where this is not. But this one's a lot thicker than this one, so I figured it would balance out and give it a fair play. Plus, machete steel tends to roll, chip, or, well, usually roll, or dull faster than regular steel. So putting them together, it's going to make more sense this way. Now, because there isn't a which one is better, because if you're going to talk about getting a Bowie, I'd rather have a budget Bowie than a machete Bowie. However, I already went through this thing, and this does pretty much anything this will do. The difference with this being a little thicker is prying. And if you are in a survival situation and it's what you have, the one good thing about a prying steel, something that you can pry with, as stupid as it sounds, is old logs. You can pry open and destroy old logs to get out grubs and things like that for fishing. So it might not sound like much, but that's the reason I would take this over this, not because this is not capable. And I mean, it might hold an edge a little longer, even though these are pretty easy to field sharpen. So is this one, being the steel that it is. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But let's take them out and just start whacking into stuff and see how they compare shot for shot. All right, come on. So people might think it's crazy or sacrilegious to say, well, how can you compare a steel Bowie against a machete? And the answer is pretty simple. Testing. I've tested all of them, and I know what works, and I know what doesn't, and I know what you can do with it, and I know what you can't do with it. And so far, what I've found with this guy right here, there's really not much I can't do with it, aside from prying, because it is a flexible steel, but I can still pry a bit. But here's the deal, is you gotta remember also, this is the cold steel version. It's made very, very well. But let's show you. Let's show you. Now, clearly it's a machete, so we can't smash open a log with it, right? Well, let's find out. Let's do some batoning with machete steel. All right. Well, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it worked. So now, let's get another log here. Good thing I came prepared and put them all right in front of me ahead of time. Let's go with this guy right here. Let's go with this guy. A budget Bowie. So it's basically a versus between a budget Bowie and a machete Bowie. And you're going to be surprised to find that they're pretty freaking equal. Stuff like that, it's, you know what I mean? It's something that you'd expect to be able to do with this, but not with that. That can take care of it, you know, all day long. It's going to be able to handle it. Let's see, I haven't done anything to these edges. This one especially, I've been using it but you can see I can still feather with it. It's pretty dull at this point. This one needs to be sharpened a lot. But you can see it's still going to work unsharpened. This thing I have used less. It's going to do it. So basically all your basic needs, like your batoning and your feather sticking, things like that, are going to be able to be done with both knives. Just absolutely no problem. What it comes down to, and where the real battle should be between these two, is in the hit. So I think we're going to skip all the small stuff and just go right to hitting. And we got something to hit. All right, so we got one, we got two. Now, before Scab asks, and I do not have an answer, what's in your pocket today? Well, I have got my torch from Brody at the Chainsaw Shack. I am loving this Wowtac A7. This thing is awesome. It's been with me since I opened that package and did the video the other day. I really like it. And my Combat Troodon is in my pocket right now. And that's all I have with me right now. It's kind of weird. All right, so let's get to getting. Put that guy over there. Put this guy right here. Now, here's one thing is the power generated in a heavier piece is going to be strong. Let me take off the ring. Is going to be strong because of the weight, right? And you can see it's going to hit with force. And that force is going to really show up in the amount of wood that it can take out per swing. And this one is not having a hard time taking out wood per swing. Now, we will try this one. Now, this is longer. Now, this is made for, you know, brush cutting and things like that, and little branches going through. Normal machetes you'd want longer if you're doing trekking and you're trying to create a path. This is for when you already have a path created, but you have some danglers. All right, let's see here. Now, being longer, I'm getting more swing from the tip, right? So it's really generating high speed. Where this one generated high weight, this one's generating high speed. Now, what does that mean as far as the strike? It means because this one's faster, I'm getting a sweet swing because I'm hitting with so much speed, it's just cruising through. That one's heavier, so it's just hitting more power. So while it takes less speed, what's happening is I'm getting equal cutting. And you can see right there that the cuts are pretty freaking similar when you're talking one of these to one of those. As far as price points are concerned, that's a budget Bowie. So this is probably, I want to say 30 bucks-ish, somewhere in there. Can't remember how much this costs, but I think it's about the same. I think they're both about like the $29 range. So you're talking about two knives equal in cost, built completely differently, but that are going to do the same job. For me personally, as far as swinging and cutting, I like this. I really, really like this as a swinger cutter. As an all-around survival, I would probably have to roll with this. And the reasons are going to be extremely minor, but let me see. I'm just, oh, I almost stabbed my leg. I almost missed. It was probably like 2 inches. That thing would have went straight through. That would have been like, uh-oh, better get Mako. All right, so that was funny. All right, so here we go. There we go. I can really, really dig in with this big guy and open up some stuff. So if I was looking for bugs in a dead log, obviously the log would be more dead than this. Something like this would really come into play. And people are always wondering, you know, in survival situations, why would you pry? People say that, well, what the hell do you need to pry with a knife for? And it's just stupid stuff like that. Prying is for just foraging. And if I was going to need it to trench with, which means put it in the ground and do the same thing, pry and make a big hole. This one I can stick in the ground and trench with, also in soft ground, but this one's going to be able to handle more like of the big rocks and things like that, getting in between them. And that's really the only separation. Now, spine for spine, if I was going to take this spine and hit it into there, you'll see I can actually stick it in. This spine, I'm not really sticking it in, but I'm smashing that piece of knot right there, but it's not going to stay in. And you're thinking, who cares? You're not going to be hitting with the spine. Right, that's correct. Unless you are foraging for food and you are in a waterbed where you can find mussels or little crabs or anything that you might have to smash open. Or maybe you're out there finding geodes and you want to bop, 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 break one open to see if it's a geode. Things like that, because not every time you use a knife is for survival. Sometimes it's just for fun. And if you are a rock collector and things like that and you need to bust open a rock, you're going to need a spine on a blade. If you don't have a little hammer with you, this little guy right here, bop, 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 is going to get the job done. Here's my geode right here. It's split right in half. Now, because that was a piece of wood, this would do the same thing, but it would be easier to break something open with this than it would be this. So, really, when it comes down to it, the differences are very, very small, but for what I would choose it for, I have a good reason. Which one do I think is better? I think overall, this is better than this. Now, if I was holding the Case or the brother of this, the Cold Steel Wild West Bowie, or the Undertaker, or any of those knives, then they would be better than the Machete. But talking about a budget blade versus this is definitely the better knife. This is better situationally in a survival situation. This is better situationally in a gardening situation, or if you are camping and you already have a designated path, but maybe, I haven't been to my campsite in a year, so I'm just going to take my machete and go out and trim whatever the overhang. That's where you would benefit with this. All right, so let's just double up. And you can see, man, they swing. Woo-wee! I ooh-weed and got one right in my mouth. Ta-da! So, boys and girls, we have the Machete versus the Bowie in Bowie shape. And I have to say, I mean, if you had either one, you already are going to do pretty good. They're going to handle whatever you want. And even the budget stuff, when you're talking about a large Bowie, I've never had a large Bowie budget fail me, right? I've never had that happen. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to let them show your true colors. True colors are shining through. Don't be afraid to get a knife and use a knife that you normally wouldn't, because you're thinking, oh, I looked at the price and it's cheap, therefore it's not worth it. That's not true. It's not true at all. There's nothing that my expensive knife can do that this one can't, right? The only thing that my expensive knife will do is hold an edge longer. This one I can sharpen with a rock. That's the difference. It's really, really not that big of a difference. Same thing with this. It's a Machete Bowie. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's just a Machete. Oh, it's cheap. It's stupid. Those are called snobs. Those are knife snobs. And what we do is we look at them and we just say, shut the hell up, because this thing is sweet. And as far as self-defense, because all Bowies are fighting knives first, right? They remember in the 1800s, a cowboy packed light. And if you read memoirs, and I hate reading, but some stuff I love reading. If you read memoirs from cowboys, guys that used to carry the large knives in the 1800s, mid to late 1800s especially, they would carry these large knives on their pack, because if all you are is you're riding one horse, you have a horse and you're out, and you're going to be out for weeks, maybe a month. If you're chasing cattle, or if you're just going cross country, or you have some place to get to, what they would do is forfeit a kitchen knife, like a small kitchen knife. They would forfeit your axe or your hatchet. They would forfeit all that stuff for one large, heavy knife. This knife was your kitchen knife. This knife was your hunting knife. This knife was your fishing knife. This knife was your put together your bedding for the night knife. This knife was everything, and it was your defense against critters and your defense against invading people, whether they be feathered hair or cowboy hatted. It doesn't matter. The enemy was the enemy no matter who it was. There wasn't only one enemy, right? All these people, they say, oh, savage, savage, savage. The savage was the jerk, not the race. So make sure you all know that. But that's what the big Bowies were for. They were the one-stop do-all. And everybody thinks, oh, well, a Bowie knife, it's a fighting knife, blah, 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 blah. No, no, no. The Bowie was the pack knife to make up for every knife you'd have to carry if you didn't have a Bowie. You know, you don't have to bring your small shovel. You don't have to bring your hatchet. You don't have to bring your kitchen knife. You don't have to bring your hunting knife. You bring one knife that does everything. And that's why these were created, not just for fighting. People are very, very lost on that. But if you read actual cowboy memoirs and you read the importance of the large knife, you'll find out why. It's because you needed one thing, and it could hang right on your belt, so you wouldn't have to worry about putting it on your pack, on your horse, and then losing it. So it would hang on the belt, and it would literally be the one-shop stop for every single need you had. The large Bowie. And it's not the Bowie knife, it's just the Bowie style. Obviously, Bowie, we call them Bowies because of James and his brothers created big knives, and they were the first ones to popularize them, and the sandbar fight really made it happen, even though they didn't look anything like this. And they did not look like the Musso Bowie. The Musso Bowie was one that James' brother made for him. He carried, he used, and right before he went to the Alamo, he gifted it to a politician, a friend of his. And that's why that knife is still around, and you're able to find it in museums, because if he had it with him, that would have been confiscated by a Mexican soldier when they killed him, and that one would probably be lost forever. But since he gifted it to somebody, it's still around. So that's it on this. Here's a little history lesson for you. As far as the versus is concerned, I mean, there's no real winner loser. It comes down to A, preference, and B, what do you plan on using your knife for? And that's what it really comes down to. What is your purpose? If you're out just taking down really small trees like those weed trees, or you're clearing your already made path, this thing right here is going to be all the machete you need, or all the Bowie knife you need for any of that kind of stuff. You're still going to be able to do all the rest of the stuff. Now, if you're out there and you're doing a complete camp, and you absolutely need a survival knife, then go with a regular Bowie. It doesn't have to be a budget Bowie. Just go with a regular Bowie. And if you are somebody who just likes to do outdoor adventure stuff and you like to go find rocks and smash things open, definitely use the one that's made to be able to smash things open. So that's it for that. I'm Donnie B all day. Until next knife.